Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name is Hayden.
Welcome back. How you doing, Hayden?
I'm really good.
Yeah?
I'm really good.
Nice
It's interesting time of
Why?
year.
Why?
Well, you know, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but we've had big old summer holidays, haven't we?
Big old summer holidays.
Coming
And
to an
this
end.
episode right now, if you're listening on release day, is the day teachers in England and Wales, I believe, go back to school. Scotland have been back for like 2 weeks.
I didn't know Wales works in schools. Get it?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I do get it.
That's
you're getting warmed up, aren't you,
Listen,
for the
hang on.
awful kid jokes?
See, no one else can see it. Dad jokes, mate.
Oh, dad
jokes
jokes.
book.
Yeah, we're sat in Hayden's. What should we call it?
Studio.
Yeah.
We call it a studio.
Yeah. Studio bedroom. Isn't that what it's called when it's tiny?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Too small to be a bedroom, so it's a studio.
Yeah, they can't fit a bed in here. We can fit a desk. So, and on his shelf, he's got a really weird array of... Can we just go through what's on your shelf?
Go for it. It's an eclectic mix.
So we've got a Lego Star Wars figurine of Darth Vader's head. Mm-hmm. We've got a picture of Daddy and me with your daughter, which is really cute, to be fair.
Really cute.
We've got the box of a fan for a PC.
Still got the fan in it. That's why it's there. Yep.
We've got a Rubik's Cube, right? Two things. Not only is it not 3x3, this Rubik's Cube, it's 4x4. As if 3x3 it's below you. 3x3.
Yeah.
Not solved.
Not solved. Can't solve it.
And it's inside of like a glass dome, as if like it's on display. Like, look what I've done. I've mixed up a 4x4 Rubik's Cube.
I've never solved it. Woo!
What? There's some kind of trophy. Do you know there's trophies that are just like a glass block?
Yeah,
but
check it out.
the lasers kind of etch in something in the middle. Let me read it. Bayford Meadows.
Yep.
It's got the phone number that's bigger than anything on how to contact them. A picture of a go-kart and it says first place.
That means what's the word?
You won.
That means I won.
You did.
I did.
Yeah. So
Professional race.
Okay. You've got a model car, which just looks like a Hot Wheels thing.
Yeah, a child got me that this year.
Right, that's pretty cute.
Can you be a gift? Because I never like cars. So I thought that was pretty cute.
A wooden model of what I can only imagine is a mother and father with a baby. What on earth is that?
Lauren got me that.
Okay, well, sentimental.
ornament
I won't
for
say anything else. And a couple of plastic plants, not even bothered with any real plants.
Yeah. And you didn't even mention the Dad Jokes book.
No, I was going to get around to that.
Oh, okay.
But the plastic plants I wanted to focus on because, I've got an electric car. I saved
did.
but you've got two plastic plants.
Listen. All right, I'm thinking of a comeback.
Okay.
So give me some time as to why plastic plants are great.
But anyway, dad jokes up there. Maybe at the end of this episode,
Saves water.
we're good. Still thinking we're going to open up a random page and do some dad jokes.
Let's do
because
that.
you can get some ready for your children when they come back.
Do you know what? There is a 100% chance we'll forget to do that.
Yep.
So that's good.
Yep,
So
almost
listen
done.
to the end and you won't hear that.
Absolutely. Right. Anyone listening who's a new listener, because Hayden, bit of a reflection straight away, that there's been a really good uptake of listeners to this podcast in the last week.
Thank you, everyone.
Numbers have been consistently crazy. Like normally we release an episode, obviously there's a big spike, and then people kind of drab. Either people are catching up with old episodes, or with a brand new whole base of people listening.
Return customers, new customers.
Exactly.
It's great.
New customers and return customers who we've never made a dime off and never
Go
will.
and buy our merch.
Yeah, go and buy a merch in our non-existent merch store. But one thing I did do, because I'm awful at organisation,
Stop there. You're awful.
because I'm awful at organising, is, we're on Threads, Instagram, we're on Blue Sky now. There's a million ways to get hold of us.
What is Blue Sky? Sorry, just quickly.
It's,
I don't really know.
it's basically Twitter, but isn't run by an absolute idiot who doesn't care about
You
what's
mean
posted on a
X?
platform. Yeah. There's no horrible algorithm which just tries to get eyes on the screen and just gets
Sell
people's
things.
back up. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what, why there's interest in the site, as long as there's interest. So people are angry and tweeting stuff that's just nonsense and arguing with each other. That's great from their point of view.
Right.
Whereas Blue Sky, apparently it's been opened and ran by the guy who sold Twitter, that Jack guy.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no wonder.
So apparently it's
Twitter.
basically like old school Twitter. No algorithms pushing horrible stuff. You follow people and you actually see what they post.
That's what the ultimate business move, right? Imagine making Twitter and then being like, I'm going to sell it. Genuinely, I'm going to sell it to a moron. Because he'll, and then when it all goes to crap, I'll just make Twitter again, and then I'll have the money and the company again.
And what's so funny is the logo for this new one is the exact same as the Twitter logo color, right? So it's light blue with a white animal. He's just changed the bird for a butterfly.
Yeah. So funny. Brilliant. Genius. I love it.
So yeah, Blue Sky, I am loving it. If you're not on Blue Sky, get on there and follow us at Teach, Sleep, Repeat. Hayden, you made your own Blue Sky account, I know, because you thought you
Just
wondered
have a
what's
look,
going on.
yeah.
I did mention you the other day. Probably not seen it.
No, I haven't been on the app apart from that one time at midnight when I made the account.
So what I've done basically though, I've created a Google form So anyone listening, if you've got a specialism, you love education, and you've got something you really want to talk about, if you ever thought about coming onto the podcast, fill out this form. So we'll put it in the description to this episode.
Cool.
Or go and find it on Blue Sky as well. And we've had a few people fill out already. We're going to get some people on the podcast in the future. We can't guarantee everyone, of course, and if it fits in with what we want to talk about anyway, even better. But yeah, go and fill it in. And because the great thing is, I don't think any platform does this anymore. Facebook kills links. X kills links. If you post a link to anything, that takes them off the site. Oh God, no, it's the worst thing ever. You couldn't possibly leave our site for 10 seconds.
No.
Sorry, I just whacked the desk in rage. But Blue Sky doesn't kill links, it seems. So I can post links to the podcast on Blue Sky.
And the post doesn't die.
It. Yeah, it's lovely.
That's cool. Nice. Yeah, it's mad. It's actually mental, isn't it, if you think about it for a second, how obsessed all those other sites got with anything that takes them off the site. Oh, no one sees it anymore.
Yeah. Because it's all they care about is eyes on the screen.
Have you noticed that? Like, just think about it. If you look at any big page on Facebook, they always do it in the first comment, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, check the comments for the link, and I'm just like, why have they made it so that everyone has to do this stupid way around it? Just let them post the link.
Yeah, it's insane. Anyway. Absolutely insane. And they make it so when you click the link, it's like some in-app browser. It doesn't even take you to your It's just some awful experience.
So that when you press back, it goes back to Facebook. Like,
exactly
it's not, whatever.
That's all they care about. But I just thought anyway that we could reflect on the summer holidays, because obviously if you're listening, very likely you're at least being back for a week or two. Let us know how that's going. But most people listening are about to go back, or are listening to this the morning they're going back.
Might be an inset day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
might not be.
So basically, I wanted to reflect on the summer really quickly, because it got me thinking. All year, I'm kind of an advocate for not minding if they were to change the summer holidays. So there's always this chat as it comes up to summer holidays that it's 6 weeks long. It's quite archaic. Working patterns are different now. Lots of parents both work. 6 weeks is a long time to have your children back at home. Should you strip it back maybe to 4 weeks and maintain the amount of time off?
All our listeners just left.
Yeah, no, it's not that popular, but I didn't mind it always. But maintain the time off, have 2 weeks, give yourself an extra week off in October maybe, because the first two terms are always dead long. Put the other weeks somewhere else. And I've always been like, no, do you know what? That's a decent idea. I don't mind that at all as a per. I was like, yeah, okay, I get less summer. Summer's really cool. Then I get through summer, and I'm now 5 weeks in. With only like a week or even half a week left when we're recording this, and I'm like, oh God, no, please don't load please don't load this, because I don't know about you, how much work have you got left?
So much stuff to do. Well, we'll talk about that in a second actually, because I think our work patterns were different this year for the first time in a long time, and we can just reflect on it. But I guess just thinking about your point, I'm not totally against the idea of changing summer, because I do hate those 1 week half terms off. Like they're not a break. They're not a break. You get a couple of days really, because you've got to do work. So I wouldn't, if someone said to me, okay, we're going to take a couple of weeks out of summer, but we'll make sure that every school holiday is at least 2 weeks, I'd be like, okay, I can see something in that. But other than that, I don't know. Summer holidays are nice. They are good to have. Yeah,
and six weeks sounds like a long time. And I'm not being ungrateful. 6 weeks is more than most people get off all year. Like, it is great, but those weeks in are incredibly intense.
I'd like to know how people spend, because I bet there's a huge variation of like how teachers and school staff spend their summer holidays.
So what do you normally do, and what have you done this year? You said it was different.
So just think about the last 5 years, right? Sure. If you've been listening to this for a while, you know me and Dylan have got a business, and over the last 6 years we've been building that business. And the downsides of building a business when you have a full-time job as well, at least we did for the first 4 years, is you do have to find time elsewhere, like weekends and holidays, to do it. So I found the last 5 years before we had kids, we have spent, honestly, just like the whole summer, just pottering away at work, and we'd never really have a proper break. And this year was the first time that both of us were like, come on, let's have an actual break. Like, we minimized as much as humanly possible the work that we did in the summer holidays, and kind of just said, look, we've got this, we're going to do the last week of summer, so the week we're recording now, we're going to do everything. And yeah, it's been weird, because obviously this week now I couldn't be more stressed, and we're working like 12, 13, 14 hour days at the moment.
Well, this is always the argument when people say, do you know what people are like, yeah, take your holidays off. Don't do work in the holidays. And I'm that kind of person who'll say that. But if you're in the wrong environment, or maybe if you're just in any environment as a teacher, never mind the wrong one, it is understood that we do have work to do outside of like class. So like we know that. That's part of the job. We understand that. We can discuss about how much is acceptable, blah, blah, blah. But then when someone says don't do anything, it's like, okay, next week my kids won't have any lessons then.
Can I turn up with no planning?
Exactly. So I've obviously got to do something.
Go home. Don't stop marking. It's 5 o'clock. Go home.
Are you going to moan at me on Monday if my marking's not done? Yes.
Yes, it needs to be done. We've got a book look.
Okay, but so can I stay and do it? No, go home.
Go home.
It's policy. You've got to be out by 4. when can I do the marking then? Mm-mm. Don't worry about that marking.
I'll close my eyes when you take it home. How about that? Oh.
Go and enjoy your weekend marking there instead.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Not in my building. I want to close up and go home.
Yeah. So I wonder what I would love to know what people do in the summer holidays, how they actually spread out their work. Because we all know we've got work. How do you do it? I would say the enjoyment for like the first 4 weeks, maybe even 5 weeks of this summer holiday, was probably outweighs my stress right now.
Yeah, justified.
I can take the stress now because I'm like, cool, we went away, we did stuff. Been with Rory, especially now we've got the little ones.
Oh, and Hayden will do the work.
Yeah, Hayden will do it the last week.
Joking. We've done all of it together.
Yeah, no, it's been good.
No, I agree. I fully agree. Even though I'm quite stressed this week, I'm just remembering the lovely 4 or 5 weeks that I had before that. So.
And you're talking about kind of our position of where we have other stuff to work as well. If you were to take that out and say if there's just schoolwork, actually still we'd be fine because we'd just be doing it now. You know, in the same way that we'd be doing it in the middle of term. Treat your start of September almost like that. Do you know what I mean? You can get ahead on stuff, but in general, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah. Let us know. Have you spread out the work across the summer and kind of like had it all the way through, or have you also dedicated some time to do work and had an actual break?
I've got one question before we get into the bulk of this episode.
Okay.
Because as you know, clicking on this episode, we're going to talk about unpopular teacher opinions. I can't wait for this because we've harvested real opinions from people.
Just quickly, you know, there's an ongoing meme of like our notes for the episode. We're at the end of the notes now, so we're 11 minutes in. There's nothing else. So
but that's because I know we have so many prompts, and this is really cool because it's from external. Do you know, quite often this pod is me and you. Sometimes it's a bit echo chambery. We're of course you should be lovely with it.
Because we planned it out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, literally. But we're really going to do some external opinions and give our thoughts on them. Sure. But I wanted to ask you one question before we get started because it is the start of the year. What are you looking forward to most as a teacher who's about to start September again? Genuine question. I know we could joke and laugh. Oh, it's rubbish. I see a lot of negativity.
Yeah.
We're quite actually passionate about teaching and we are quite positive on this podcast. So what are you looking forward to?
Sometimes. Genuine first thing that came to my head, probably the one you're expecting, meeting the kids. That that first morning when they're all sat there really silent, because they always are on that first one because I don't know you yet, and they're all there and I think the first time I make them all smile. That's it. That moment where I've captured them and they're like, oh, he's actually not horrible. And I capture that moment. That's it. That's the bit I'm most looking forward to.
Beautiful. That's all I wanted to hear.
Same for you, I reckon.
Exactly the same. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to building relationships with them. And the one thing I was going to say to people listening is I'm going to make it 2 aims this year. Okay. One is I'm going to talk about wellbeing a lot.
Yeah,
we're going to champion that throughout the
year
on
the podcast.
In general and online and championing people taking control. Because sometimes it's out of control of SLT, but sometimes it's within our control.
Yep.
Taking control of what we can actually do ourselves,
or at least as much as that you can, even if your SLT are a barrier.
Exactly. And a big thing right now I want to tell to teachers is about being strict. Because I would like to redefine strict and kind of there's a stigma around strict.
Yeah.
Because I think every teacher should be strict.
Yeah.
Every single teacher should be really strict.
But you need to define strict.
Exactly. Because people hear that and they're like, what?
Oh, that means
I had a strict teacher.
equals mean.
Exactly. And it does not have to.
No.
All strict should mean is you have really set boundaries and you constantly stick to them regardless.
You are strict on your boundaries.
You're consistent. And I think I want to say to everyone right now, do that from the start. Be consistent, be strict. It's hard because it's easy to falter and let something go. Do it constantly, do it all week. Be nice, smile, lovely, make the children laugh, enjoy yourself, but be strict.
Yeah.
Be really, really harsh on those. And those routines, you'll be thankful in a few weeks when you've built them.
No, I think that's very good advice. Very good advice. Anyone starting the year. We did an episode, didn't we, where we talked about, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, but I just want to simplify it because I see people going, oh God, she's a strict teacher. It's like, cool. Let's talk about other things. Because what you mean is your child doesn't get on with that teacher. Or you mean that teacher's horrible, which are 2 separate things.
Yeah, they're always negative.
Obviously it's bad, but do you know what? Some of my favourite teachers at school were extremely strict. But I liked them.
Yeah. So we're going to try and make strict a positive word.
Yeah, exactly.
Make it positive.
Yeah, why not?
Champion well-being, make strict positive.
Yeah, and have a laugh on the way. Join us for the ride. Follow. Why not follow this podcast? Why not leave us a review?
Oh,
that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Where can they do that?
Any platform you're listening on.
We're getting more and more now.
Yeah, and when I set a review 5-star, would be good. It would be good, wouldn't it?
We did this one time when someone gave us a really genuine 4-star review, and we were like, oh.
And it was a really nice 4-star review.
We can't complain.
It was 4-star review and the title was Best Education Podcast. Yeah. And I was like, okay, what would I have to do to get to a 5-star review?
It's not the best podcast, is it? That's why.
Right, let's play the jingle. Let's get into these teacher opinions. Right. Controversial. Right, context. I've got a whole bunch of controversial teacher opinions. What I did was I posted a meme online, a picture, and it's that one from, I think it's from Tangled, right? Where the main character, the bloke, is stood there like with a smarmy grin, and there's just like 100 swords pointing at him. And I said, "What's your opinion on teaching that has people like this?"
Okay.
So it's something where this might cause a ruckus, but what we can do is, I've forgotten them. I'm not going to lie. This was a couple of weeks ago. You've never seen them before.
Nope.
So I'm going to pick some random comments.
I didn't know we had social media.
We do have social media. You can follow us on Instagram, Teach Sleep Repeat Podcast, by the way. Just saying.
Oh, clever.
Or follow us on Blue Sky, Teach Sleep Repeat.
Nice.
But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to say the unpopular opinion based on like how many likes it's got as well. So if it's a popular, unpopular opinion, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah. Then we're going to chat about it, what we think.
Actually, that's a paradox.
No, it's actually a paradox.
We'll chat.
Indeed. Yeah, and then we'll kind of see where we stand.
Can I just check one thing? Is this a ruse? Like, is this all like a facade, and you just want a way to say all the things you hate? Is that what it is, or is this real?
No. Okay. This is real. I promise. You can go to our Instagram and see it for yourself. Okay. So I'm going to start off with this one. A 4-day week for teachers and kids, combined with shorter holidays, is something really worth considering and could be incredibly positive.
Shorter holidays, but shorter weeks. Yeah.
Exactly that. So less whole weeks off.
Yeah.
But each week is shorter.
I think on the surface it might sound like a bad deal, but I feel like we've maybe thought about this before, and I think that's a good deal.
Why?
I think more regular time off. It just like saves you from burnout. It's just one step further away from burning out every single week, like we tend to feel in teaching. Like Friday, think about how much of a slog Friday is. Back when we used to work, full time. We're part time now.
But we can talk about the fact we moved part time.
Yeah,
and it did have such an effect on our life.
Oh my god, I'm so much. I mean, not anymore because we have children, but so we keep replacing the stress with work and children. But yeah,
but there are people out there who are working full time, Hayden, with kids.
I know. Yeah. So we can just cancel those out. Yeah. Definitely an advocate for that. I think that's a good. I don't think people would like it. I think people would be, as in non-teachers and non-education.
That's why it's an unpopular opinion.
Bloody teachers! They already get all this time off. Why do they need? Why are they changing it? Just work a full week like the rest of us. That's what you'd get, and I don't think it'd go anywhere.
And do you know what it would end up being? Right? It would genuinely end up being you work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and you just do that planning you did in your own time magically on the Friday. Yeah. It would almost turn into just a normal week off.
Yeah, it basically would.
That's what a lot of people who go for 4 days a week say. They're like, it's brilliant. I took a hit on my pay, and it's brilliant, but it means I can get my work done in a reasonable time on Friday.
And have the weekend. Actually have a weekend.
So by doing this, what you're actually doing is unlocking your weekend for a lot of teachers.
But people wouldn't understand that. So we'd all see that. Anyone that knows the nuances of teaching would be like, oh, this is good because we already do 6 days of work for 5 days pay. So let's do 4 days of work. And then the 5th day that everyone thinks we're off swanning around, we'll actually just do the work that we would be doing on the weekend. So it's still a normal week. Yeah. I think
it's a nice idea. I think the biggest problem is going to be childcare, but I think there's some opinions that'll come up.
That is true. As well. That's actually a really good point.
Yeah, but is it though? Because how many parents work on Saturday and Sunday? We're not going to open on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, but it's less common, isn't it? Like you mentioned earlier.
But it's less common.
Our culture.
It's very less common.
Yeah, Friday though.
Yeah,
if it was like one day.
Well, if you're working from home and stuff, a lot. That's why if you look at absences, the number of children absent on a Friday rockets compared to the rest of the week. Because that's the day parents are at home. Yeah, it's funny. True. So parents are more likely to be like, oh yeah, okay, have a day.
Fair enough. Be interested to see the stats of that. I still reckon. Hugely outweighted because we've built a whole culture around weekends and weekdays.
Yeah. I think it's shifting though, and I think unless you proactively shift it, it's always going to be an issue. Yeah, so probably. Something needs to be done. I quite like that opinion. What would you rate out of 10?
Rate out of 10? Well,
yeah, 10 out of 10 is like, I completely agree with this.
What about like controversially, like out of 10?
No, I'm just saying, you personally.
I would give that. That's a strong one, 9 out of 10. I really like that. Okay. Talk point.
I've got one linked here. School hours in general each day are too long. We can get it all done in less time.
Ooh.
So we basically keep kids in school because society has turned us into daycares. But what about working parents? This is where it's controversial. What about them? Raise your own kids.
Wow. That's interesting. I think, okay, let's jump to the controversial bit first. And sorry if I keep jumping in. You can jump in as well.
No, my God.
But that bit about raise, I don't know. I don't like that bit. No, I don't agree with that because I'm like, okay, but they can't just quit their job. They need, we work for money. Those people aren't working like for a laugh. And it's like, I don't want to raise my kids. I'd rather go to work. It's like, no, they need to go to work to pay for life.
It's not 1980 where you could live on one income anymore.
Yeah.
Lots of families need 2 incomes.
Yeah.
So lots of families rely on school to look after
I think
their
that's
kids.
a slightly unfair comment. I can see it from the government's perspective of like, you know, we just want it to be daycares, but I don't know. I think that's a bit too far down the old tin hat route for me of like what school is. I think really what's happened is we're just too competitive and we need to be the best in the world. And because China are outperforming us and everything, we think that more is better. We've had that discussion before where we kind of said just doing more school doesn't actually necessarily result in like being better at the stuff you learn.
Do you remember after COVID when it was a big push, like let's extend the school day, and almost every teacher to a T was like, "Oh my, are you joking?"
Yeah, it won't help.
Yeah,
it's already too much. So I do kind of agree with. I do think school days are too long.
Yeah, completely.
I think when I see kids flagging at like 1:30, 2:00, like quite often, like most of the kids do. And honestly, I reckon the like efficiency of their learning ability at that point is so low. I just think nah. And it's not a surprise, is it, that I quite often find that after a short half-term break or something like that, the kids seem to remember the things we taught in that last week really well.
Oh yeah,
like,
right.
Because you haven't crammed 5,000 other things on top after that. You've actually just gone home and had a week to consolidate the thing you last learned. So I actually think less is more when it comes to learning. I'm quite an advocate of that anyway.
But you know the only way that can happen?
Go on.
Is if the curriculum is massively condensed.
Yeah, I was going to ask your opinion. Do you even think we could shorten days?
Currently, absolutely not.
No.
Currently, we've done a whole podcast about this, and one of our most popular podcasts actually is the school timetable fit for purpose?
Yeah.
And the answer is absolutely no, because you physically can't meet the demands of the curriculum. I had a really interesting chat on Blue Sky actually about this.
Yeah.
I said, what would you cut if you could from the curriculum? So I think we all accept it's a bloated curriculum.
Yeah.
What would you cut if you could?
What did people
and
say?
there were two schools of thought, and it really got me really interested because I completely agree with both of them. The first school of thought was it is indeed bloated. There's so much we can get rid of, especially maths and GPS. They were the two people went to. And I was like, yeah, because you know what? We do a lot of maths and a lot of English.
Yeah.
And we don't need to go as far as we do. And GPS was the one highlighted for English. Completely agree. There is so much of that which children just simply don't need to know by the time they're 11.
Yeah.
And I agree with the maths as well. Things like Roman numerals. Get out of the curriculum. It's a nice, cool thing. Yeah. I don't think children need to know what D represents by the time they're 10. I think it's so low on the list of priorities when we've got children who go to year 6 and they can't double 2-digit numbers properly.
Yeah.
So I think you could have a huge kind of skim of that.
Yeah.
But the other side of the coin, and I was like, do you know what? You're absolutely right. And this is something teachers need to work on, is if you actually look at the curriculum for the foundation subjects, we've said it a million times.
Yeah.
They're like 2 sides long for history. So when we're saying there's too much to fit in for history, there's too much to fit in for geography, a lot of the time it's self-inflicted.
Yeah, we're saying the scheme we brought in is too much.
Precisely.
That's what we're saying.
Exactly. And those people said, you know what we could do? Instead of massively trying to trim down the curriculum, a lot of work has been done since 2014 when the new curriculum came in by specialists who've looked at this curriculum and have adapted things and have said, okay, you only need to do this. A lot of schemes have come in and bloated what you need to cover.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people and specialists have said, no, look, have the curriculum in front of you. And that was the best piece of advice I got from that thread was whatever you're doing, have the curriculum in front of you and just ask yourself, do I need to do this?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, one of the big drawbacks of that was though that even these people said themselves, it can become quite dry if you really strip it back.
Yeah.
But if you think about the average primary school curriculum, maybe 10 years ago, when this curriculum came in, it was kind of the amalgamation of 20 years of teachers being like, that's a nice activity. Let's do a mask. Maybe the Vikings would have worn this kind of hat. Let's build a Viking longship together.
Yeah.
How much of the curriculum is that hitting? It's probably not hitting any of the art curriculum. No. It's probably not actually hitting any of the DT curriculum. And it's probably not really hitting the history curriculum because you're not going through the themes. You're not looking at the process. Skills
practice.
Yeah, and there's reasons why you might want to do that.
Yeah.
But their point was, if our job is to deliver the curriculum, we're actually bloating it ourselves in the afternoon. And we've gone through this process ourselves of looking at your afternoon curriculum and thinking, actually, we could do half of this.
Yeah, we have become obsessed, I think, as a culture, and it is like a self-fulfilling prophecy almost. Like we've convinced ourselves how important it is when it's not, of feeling like we have to do all the subjects all the time. And I genuinely don't see a problem. Like, you know, a lot of school timetables will be like every term or every 2 terms at the absolute most, we need to have done a whole like unit on in every subject.
Sure.
And I'm like, is there really a problem in primary school with just halving that?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, we did history 2 times this year rather than 4.
Completely.
Is it really a problem if you actually think about it? What I'd love to do one day, like it'd be so cool in my imaginary world here, is just sit down, right, scrap the entire curriculum, but just go to the end point of year 6. Everyone like just have some massive agreement on where do we want kids to actually be at the end of year 6 when they finish primary school, and just work backwards from there. Because I think we could cull so much.
Would you also work backwards from how much time you want to spend in school, or would you let that change as well?
Oh, I'd let it change. Yeah, I'd let that change definitely. But I think we'd naturally find that we could shorten it massively. Yeah, because I'm a massive advocate for maths, and so are you. Like we love teaching maths; it's our favorite thing. But I would cut that down by like 30% immediately. If we can't do it because all the constraints that actually exist in reality, we can't do that. But you could realistically, like you said, just cull a bunch of maths objectives, push them back further because do they need to know the basics of algebra in year 6? No. Really?
We've got children learning algebra in year 6 who, honest to God, don't really understand what a decimal is.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, these kids are going to go to secondary school and we're going to be using money.
Yes, but they've got loads of surface level knowledge of stuff that's abstract to them and not useful.
Do you know what they can do? They can answer this stats question really well.
Wait till they learn trigonometry before they can double. It's like, okay. All right. Yeah, we could absolutely just completely cull it. Same with English. Harder to do English, I think, because it's way more subjective.
Yeah, and I think comprehension, I think, do you know what? I think it's actually quite good, comprehension. I think the different kind of genres that we have to look at, the kind of level of questioning, I think it's a good thing, personally. But I think GPS is nonsense. I think the way we do writing is complete nonsense. It's the level we have to reach for writing is insane.
It's mad, isn't it?
Have more creativity, have more fun, have more vocab discussions. I don't care if you haven't used this specific clause in a very specific tense.
I don't know how we got to the point. I'd love to find the point in history where we got to the moment where it was unanimously agreed that by the end of year 6 you need to be a perfect writer.
I know.
Because it is perfection. And anyone that I'll challenge anyone on that. You have to be a perfect writer by the end of year 6 to be expected.
I know. It's like, well, they can have one thing. It's like, okay, do you mean like, so can I put spelling? No.
Yeah.
It has to be one spelling rule they get wrong constantly.
Yeah. And it has to, and also, that's like a particular weakness, and that only works with a few things. They couldn't have that like with full stops.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like particular. But even when they get stuff wrong, it's like, okay, they don't have to get it all right all the time. So okay, but they do have to be really secure still in doing it, and it just has to be like a silly mistake. So it's like they still have to be perfect writers that just make the occasional.
I think all of this feeds into the idea that teachers' work is never done. You could always fill another hour. So if the government did say it's an hour longer now, do you know what schools might be like? Oh no, don't do that. But if they did do it, we'd be like,
we'd fill it in.
Well,
seconds.
actually, do you know we can do that immediately because we will find a way to do it.
Yeah, of course we would.
And I think what needs to happen is from both ends. I think the government are looking at a new curriculum. Don't add stuff to it, please. Please do not add anything to it. Maybe redefine the aims. Maybe if you're gonna add some stuff where it needs, like in creativity, arts, music, sport, exercise. If you're gonna add that stuff, please don't just add it like has always happened.
Yeah.
And just expect us to kind of make it work.
And
decide ourselves.
That was a great one, that one. That was a really good discussion point. I'll give that also a 9 out of 10. I'm reserving 10.
Okay. But of your agreement? Or just you like that opinion?
I just really like that
opinion.
Okay, cool. It was a really good discussion point, and I think very controversial.
Okay, I've got a couple. This one, I love this one.
Okay.
I think, this is me reading, by the way. I think the SATs are a good thing.
Okay, you go first.
I completely agree, and this is very unpopular, and there'll be people listening right now wanting to turn off. Please don't. Let me explain to you what I mean. I think it's a good thing to see where children are in their learning journey, especially when it comes to finishing a key stage.
Sure.
I think looking at the end of key stage 2, I don't think it's bad immediately, automatically, to put a test in front of the children. What is awful is the current environment and what lots of schools put children through, and the way it's immensely harshly judged, and the way it affects how you deliver, honestly, all of year 6, and for a lot of schools, year 3, 4, and 5 as well.
Yeah.
I think it becomes the driving force for a lot of schools.
Okay.
It's all schools care about when they're planning is, okay, well, what's the end goal of SATs though? Have you looked at the SATs? Do you understand the SATs inside out? Because in year 4, do you know what? You don't actually have to teach this, which is really cool and interesting, and you can talk about themes and genres in this way. That's awesome. No, cut that back because we need to do this very explicit GPS thing, and they need to nail it by year 4 because by year 5 they're going to do something else, and by year 6
when the tense becomes passive aggressive, if they don't know what past is, we don't know how we're going to build on it.
Exactly. So what I would say is I agree in itself that there is nothing wrong with testing children at the end of year 6.
Okay.
I think it's actually a good thing to put a test in front of children when they're 11 and say to them, you're going to do tests when you're older. Let's just see what you can do. But I think a lot of work has to be done from both the school environment, SLT, who are in charge of sometimes this horrible environment from put into schools, and also the government in terms of less obsessing over league tables, please.
League tables,
Yeah, there's more important things for our children.
Mm-hmm.
The test shouldn't be the be all and end all. It's fine that it's there, but it shouldn't be the only thing we're measuring.
Okay, I'm gonna come back with a different opinion.
What?
I know, right?
Yeah.
My only challenge to that would be, even though I agree with everything you said in principle, is I don't think it is physically possible in reality to strip away all of the negatives from SATs to make it a good thing.
Okay, so would you do some rebranding and do something different, or would you just get rid of it completely and never have tests again?
I don't know. That's like the next level of this.
Well,
My thought experiment right now is, could we make SATs good?
Sure.
And I come to the conclusion that we can't, because I don't think we could not do those things you said. I think we could probably stop some of them. We could get rid of league tables, easy, done. Could we stop teachers from feeling pressure to meet the standards of SATs, and then it affecting how they teach across the year, and maybe dropping fun units out? I don't think we could. I don't think we could ever get to a place where the SATs were like a true, pure reflection of, it impacted me as a teacher at no point up until right now when we're doing the SATs, and we're just going to measure you exactly where you are right now. But it didn't impact on the way I led you up to this point. I don't think that's possible. Yeah. Which is why I'm reluctant to jump on the idea that I say SATs are just like blanket good. I do actually, funny enough, probably still on that side more. I do think some sort of testing at the end, I think it's just kind of needed. But yeah, I find it hard to say I think they're just good, because I think they're always going to have quite a negative impact.
I think it's an interesting kind of, the thing that comes out of me from what you're saying there is, I think about, to kind of back up what you're saying almost, is what percentage of schools would you say are good to work in? Like, we don't know the percent. There are always some toxic schools, but most schools are probably nice to work in. A decent environment, maybe from the top down.
50, 60%.
Let's say it's 50%. It might be. It might be that bad. I don't know. Let's say it's 50%. What percentage of schools do you think teachers aren't stressed about SATs?
1 to 5%.
Exactly. So really even in the best of schools right now, even with the best of intentions from senior leadership, even with everything in place where, it's not
all about the learning.
If it's all about that, even when that's the case, I suppose what you're saying, just having the test at the end is going to create this environment.
Yeah, basically. And I think you could reduce it, like you said. If we got rid of performance pay, so people weren't thinking, well, my SATs results are literally going to determine whether I get a pay
which is on the way.
Year.
Which is on the way.
So get rid of that, and if we can get rid of league tables, where it's like, okay, the government will stop obsessing over comparing us, so we all feel crap if we got the bad results. If we get rid of all that stuff, I think it would massively help, and it'd be a much better place to be in, and maybe that would be enough. But
so how would we, make sure teachers are doing their job? Genuine question, because we don't want no accountability, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think Ofsted does that role.
But does Ofsted do that? But does it? Ofsted come every 4 or 5 years. 2 years in. How on earth do we ever know if a teacher in year 5 is doing a good job?
It's head teacher's job to do that, isn't it?
Sure.
I guess, it basically, it all comes down to trust.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
It's like, at which point do we accept the trust is good enough? It's like, okay, because then you could say,
what do you mean, the trust from the government trusting the school runs properly, or the trust from the head trust that teachers are doing?
That someone is monitoring teachers. Sure. That someone is making sure they're doing a good job. Because it's like, it should realistically be the manager's role. It could even be a line manager. You could even say, it's the line manager's role to see if they're doing a good job. Then you could say, what if the line manager's not very good? Okay, well, the head teacher will check that the line managers are okay. Then we know the teachers are good. And what if the head teacher's crap? It's like, okay, well, then we go to Ofsted. And there's this like sort of never-ending chain, really. And I get it, why it then goes to, okay, let's do something that's not subjective at all and just have a test. So I totally get like the idea of having tests. I'm not even massively against them. But I just think it's interesting to point out the paradox that you can't have a test without it impacting somehow, even if it's extremely tiny and subliminal, how the teachers are going to present the curriculum to those kids and generally just their education. I think if SATs were completely gone and there was absolutely no accountability, standards probably would go down. But I think it's like it almost like go like that. Like we'd get.
What do you mean like that? This is a podcast,
sorry, up and down. That the scope would change. Like it would allow for worse schools, but it would also allow for some schools to then thrive and be like, oh, now we can stop doing stupid lessons about past progressive tense, and because it's completely pointless, and actually do those things that we just think are great for the kids, and you'll get those schools that are amazing experiences for kids.
Do you think that's net good or net bad?
I don't know. That's where I have absolutely no idea. I'd like to think
the idea that it's still possible to really indulge those kids in that really cool stuff is nice.
Yeah, it's like
a lot of the best schools would be doing that right now.
Yeah,
wouldn't they? If it's better for the kids, then they'd just be doing it anyway. Yeah. But it's tough. It is tough. Next one. I'll rate that out of 10. Go on. And that opinion.
8.
Oh, nice. Not bad.
These are all really good.
Good opinions.
Yeah.
Next one. Ready? Pen licenses are a waste of time.
Mostly. Yeah, mostly a waste of time.
Expand. I've got very strong feelings on this.
You have? Okay, we'll come back to this. I've not thought about this ever before, so I'm just trying to think of this live right now. Live on air. I don't do them because I just think they're a bit condescending. I think it's a little bit like, really? I don't know. Some people just struggle with the handwriting. Like, it is just a physical ailment that some people have. And I'm like, I don't really see the point in making kids feel bad about struggling more. I don't know. It'd almost be like, let's think of any other thing where ability is different. Yeah. It's like, you have to earn your place in the not stupid club. It's like, that's not a very nice label, is it? That's what it feels like. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you can't write with a pen, you stupid. You haven't even got a pen license. You can't even write a pen.
I've got a spelling license. Yeah. I've got a spelling license.
Can't spell. Practice. Come on then.
I walk around with a dictionary with me. I'm in the spelling club.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels a bit like, do we really need to do that? Like, I'm sure there are some
kids. Are you
kids.
in the football club? The football club? The football club. The football boot club. Have you got football boots yet?
It's a club for football clubs.
Yeah, have you got football boots yet?
Yeah, no.
What, you haven't even kicking with a football boot anymore?
No.
Oh my God, you've not learned to kick properly without any boots on yet?
No, I haven't.
To me, it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's like you're holding back the thing which they need to be good at writing with. It's insane.
Yeah, just
because the end goal is holding a pen is very different to holding a pencil and stuff. Like just on the core level of what this is. What do you mean I have to wait to get the thing that I write with? I have to get good at writing with something else before I can write with the thing that everyone's going to end up with.
Driving license.
I think it's crazy. Pardon?
Yeah, just driving license, isn't it? Pen license.
Yeah, but with a driving license, you practice in a car.
No, I know. Yeah. I was joking.
Yeah. So you should practice with a pen.
Yeah.
Like, what should you just have a pen the whole time?
Yeah.
No, sorry. No. I'm going to give you your driving license for your car once you've passed this test with a bicycle. so pass this test with a bicycle, please. Do all your indicating, all of your gear changing with the bicycle, and then you can finally get a car, and off you go.
Yeah. And if you can't use the car immediately, you're going back to that bicycle license. So, okay.
Yeah, and if you have any problems with driving a car, it's tough. You'll never ever be able to do it. I'm sorry, they just don't have a license.
It's that classic stupid system. We've talked about systems like this before, right? Where there is a small thing to it where it's like, are there some kids that are probably just purposely being a bit lazy with their handwriting and this might encourage them to do it? Probably some.
There is definitely some.
Are there also kids who are like maybe just a bit dyslexic and no one knows yet, a bit dyspraxic or something, and they're feeling horrendous about the fact they're trying so hard and their partner next to them is writing in a pen and they're writing in a pencil and teacher's going, keep working on that and maybe you'll get a pen one day. It's like, I don't really want that. I don't want that situation happening. So I don't really like pen licenses, basically.
That's weird because you started off saying, I don't know. And then I could just see you forming your opinion.
Exactly that. That was just, and I could, you know what I'm like. I might change it in 10 minutes, but that's how I feel right now. Okay. I don't think they're a force for good, but I don't think teachers use them horribly.
No, I mean, I used them at the start of my career because it was just part of the policy that we had, and I never thought twice about it.
No.
I just thought, this is what we do. Like, I'm a new teacher, you have pen licenses, that's a thing. I never remembered having them at school, but I was like, this must be a thing. Now, do you know what? Just give your kids a pen. Just give them some pens.
Yeah.
Maybe in maths you all write in pencil. Cool, no one's got a pen. In our school, we just write in pen all the time.
All the time.
Anytime,
even
you write in pen. If in maths you write in pen because you write in pen. And, if there's lines and diagrams and stuff, you go to pencil. But you just write in pen. That's as simple as that. And if your handwriting's rubbish, do you know what we do? We practice it. We don't have me at the front going, you got your license soon.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it? Weird thing.
Practice.
Like we take away this tangible thing for you not. Just practice your handwriting. It looks pretty bad in pen. It will look bad in pencil as well. So it doesn't really matter to you which one you do it in.
Do you have your times table license?
No,
no, you can't go on Times Table Rockstar yet. Then you can't possibly practice your Times Table. Rockstar. You don't have a Times Table license. What do you mean? Only people with Times Table license can practice their Times Tables. It's just so backwards. It's just a complete nonsense.
Yeah, I don't really like it.
Out of 10.
I'm struggling with what this out of 10 is about. I'm just enjoying the conversation each time. So another 9. The last one's 9 as well. I'm bumping it up. They're all 9 out of 10.
I'm waiting for the 10.
Yeah, they'll be a 10.
This one. Ready?
Yeah, go on. 10.
Might be. It might be. We should not be teaching modern foreign languages in primary school.
Kate Languages, turn this off.
We interviewed Kate Languages. Go back and have a chat. She's a language specialist. This was obviously from someone else saying we shouldn't do it in primary
I'd love
school.
to do that from Kate.
No. But when we spoke to Kate, she did say, like, when we spoke about what language to do in primary school, she said it doesn't matter. It's the process that, like, so it's not a million miles off from this. And this person's just saying we should not be teaching it in primary school.
I disagree. I don't think we should not be teaching. I don't think there's a place to say we shouldn't. I think in the current timetable, I understand why in today's society with this crammed timetable, that might be the first one to drop off. Don't disagree with that. If we have to fit all the other stuff in, I'd be like, okay, well, something's got to go.
Why would you pick MFL first?
I think it is the least important thing to learn at a young age. I think you can honestly just pick up a bit later.
I completely disagree with you, by the way.
Do you?
Languages are by far the best thing to learn at a young age.
Well, they're most efficiently learned at a young age, but I don't think they're
I
necessarily
disagree with that
important.
point. I actually probably side on agree with that opinion. I think the best time to learn language is when you're young.
Yeah.
But in primary school, you're not actually in your formative years. Like when they say young, they mean like 1, 2, 3 when you're picking up language.
Yeah, like bilingual kids by like 4.
Yeah.
They can speak both languages.
It's a weird one. I'm not against it, but I can see what people mean because basically the problem is you go to secondary school and your foreign language teachers are experts. So I remember going to secondary school, I had Frau Dennison. Like she spoke German and Madame Dennison because we had her for German and French, but she could speak really good German and French.
I love that.
And but the point being that they're experts. They've got degrees in language, right? They're teaching you really well as a specialist.
Yeah.
In primary school, we just pretend we can do everything.
Yeah.
I posted a meme the other day. There was this English footballer who joined a Spanish team, right? And he's been unveiled in front of this huge crowd. Obviously, doesn't speak Spanish, and he gets like asked by a reporter. He just had this rehearsed line. He was like, "See happy," like it was just complete nonsense.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is like being a primary school teacher when you've never spoke Spanish in your life. You join a school. We do Spanish here, by the way, half an hour a week, and it's like what?
Okay,
so it's like I don't know.
That whole argument there is a really good one for like we should just not teach it.
Yeah, don't teach.
We can't do it properly.
Yeah, don't teach bad habits.
I wonder if that person would agree if I said, okay, your school's got a specialist teacher. Would they still be like, no, I just don't want it to be taught? Or do they mean I don't want it to be taught by me because it's like for that reason you just said? That'd be interesting.
Do you know what I'd rather do?
What?
I'd rather British Sign Language be taught.
Yeah, you're quite advocate for that,
I find it insane as a society that in general with like ableism and stuff, genuinely, with just in general, just the way we look at these people in society, they're just forgotten.
Yeah.
I think they are completely forgotten by the systems. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
do you mean like deaf people or just people?
No, people with disabilities in general.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying in this example of deaf people, like having taught children across the year who are deaf and who have disabilities, it's insane how things aren't built in for them. It's like, oh, you got a deaf kid this year.
This year you've got to do these extra things.
Do you want to do some training or do you want to? It's like, wait, what? Like they're just part of society.
Yeah.
Oh, they can't. They're not going to quite pick up stuff. So maybe you could learn some signs to help them. It's like, should I just know these signs because that's just a human being and this is how they, learn and say stuff? Like, I think British Sign Language for kids, it would be so easy to actually put it as part of the curriculum. Everyone learns it. Can you imagine a society where like you go into the workplace having left school, someone's deaf who's like 35, you join and instead of it being like, we've got someone who's deaf on the team, if you want to speak to them, just make sure you write something down, or just talk to this person.
Really just awkward
talk
way
to
around.
this person instead, and it's like no, they're a human being, and oh no, it's okay, I can speak British Sign Language. And you can go up to them and say, hi, this is my name. I can't do British Sign Language. I wish I could, but I just look at it and I think, God, we are missing a trick there.
Yeah,
just put it in.
It's so universal. I know it's not literally universal, but like it is one of the widest known. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you think of language, and there's so many different languages, whereas British Sign Language is.
What's more
well
useful for your life?
Yeah.
Speaking French or speaking British Sign Language?
British Sign Language, 100%,
by far,
100%,
especially as teachers.
It's the most useful language. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I find it insane when we're just like anyone who kind of retorts to that and said, no, it's so important to learn Spanish and modify.
No, it's not. We're English.
Is it more?
We're English.
They speak English.
Everyone else has done the job for us.
I spoke to. I went to London. I think I said on the podcast and did the life-size Monopoly thing.
Yeah,
like a big Monopoly board with like escape rooms and stuff. And we got paired with these 3 people from Germany. And they were speaking English, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I know some German from school, but I'm so sorry. We're so ignorant."
Frau Dennison. They're like, why do you keep saying this? That's all I remember.
But I was talking to them, and I would say the odd thing in German, and they'd be so like, inside they're probably like, God, this guy. Like I'd be like, the Bibliothek just means library. Yeah. It's just me stood there going, library.
Yeah,
it's like nonsense.
It's not impressive.
They're really nice and laughing. And
I know the nuances of your grammar of your language. Why are you saying library to me? Come on.
Speaking better English than I am. But I said to them, I'm sorry, we are a bit, as a society and a nation, we're a bit ignorant to like languages and stuff. And they were like, no, it would be really stupid if you learnt my language. English, we have to have one language, which is like what people learn. It's like you happen to be from the country which speaks English.
You're lucky.
But they were almost just like, no, that would be stupid. What is the point of you learning French and German and Spanish
and them doing the same?
Yeah, but they all know English, and I was like, you're completely right. Like, or you can say we're ignorant and stuff.
Don't need to do anything.
I don't need to do any extra work at all.
Thank you, bibliotech. Running away. Do you know what we are? Do you know what we are?
What?
This is the analogy for it. We are the 7 times table. England is the 7 times table. Because I always say to the kids, learn all the other times tables. And then by default, you've learned your 7s because it's part of all the other ones. We're the 7 times table. Everyone else learns English.
Just imagine talking to 7. Don't worry.
Don't worry about it.
Bother.
Everyone else knows me, baby. I don't need to know any. I'm the 7. I don't need to know the answer to any of my own time
7
tables.
times 3.
Don't know.
Sorry.
Go and ask the 3s.
Go and ask 3 times 7, love.
Yeah. 7 times 7, whatever. Ignore that one.
7 times 7, we don't.
Yeah. That's the people that can't. The English people that can't speak English very well. Me and you.
7 times 7 is this podcast. We know each other, but no one else knows what we're talking about.
Change the name of this.
That was
God.
possibly the best analogy that I've ever seen come out of your mouth.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Let's do another one. This is something I'd never,
Hang on.
ever.
I didn't do the important rating.
Oh, I'm so sorry. With this really intricate way of rating opinions. What would you rate this?
9.
I knew it. So this was really interesting. I'd love to talk to you about this because we're not specialists in this, but the idea, I immediately was convinced by the end of this sentence, okay? It's more than one sentence, but still.
Okay.
They should bring back middle schools. 11-year-old children should not be in school with 18-year-olds.
That's really interesting. Do you know what? I'm going to be very ignorant of this.
Mm.
I don't really know what middle school is in terms of I don't actually know the age bracket for it.
Yeah. The age bracket, I'm pretty sure, is upper key stage 2, lower key stage 3.
Is it?
Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's like
Wouldn't that ruin junior schools?
year 5, 6, potentially.
I don't know. Whatever,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's year 5, 6, 7, 8, like that kind of range.
But either way,
Please correct me.
It shortens the
Yeah.
chunk that you get.
The idea is 6 to 7 is no longer a transition from one school to 2. It's like there's 3 schools instead of 2. And the point being, with 2 schools, that's a huge scope. Like you go from early years to year 6 is insanely different.
Yeah.
Year 7 to end of 6th form, insanely different. So the point here is just add something in the middle, a nice little transition, makes those transitions less harsh when they do them because there's 2 of them and they're more spread out. And then within a school, you're a lot closer when you're at the bottom and the top, and you can do a lot more useful stuff. Whereas an 11-year-old and an 18-year-old, insanely different.
I guess it depends whether I like the idea. I'm not like hugely for it just from hearing it. I think there's obviously a middle ground, isn't there? There's a sweet spot somewhere because I could carry on with this thought train and be like, okay, we'll have a school per year group then. It's the ultimate one. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we have a year 5 school, and then you go to year 6 school. Like, where does it stop? Like, because obviously it's good.
It stops here, mate. It stops here.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that the sweet spot then?
Yeah,
basically?
I reckon. No, well,
So
what should be them.
Well, yeah, because I like the fact that we have infants and juniors.
Sure.
I actually like that they're split.
Do you like? So here's a question then, because anyone listening who might not know, Hayden and I have always worked in junior schools. Always started in year 3. And it's funny because here we're talking about making it more granular. But if anything, in junior schools, all I've really heard a lot of people say is, it's nice though when it's a through school, isn't it? It's nice when you go from year 1, year 2, year 3, and there's that consistency. Because what you find with a lot of junior schools, the children join you in year 3. 80% have come from your feeder school, 5% from another school, 5% from another school, and then all stragglers from other different schools. They're all at different points. They've all got different expectations. As a school, you've got to embed your values and what's your non-negotiable. I hate that term, but what's your kind of whole school approach. And people have said, it is nice though. Like if you go to a through school and look at year 3 writing, it's way better than junior school year 3 writing.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's nice from the point of perspective of you have control as the school over those children. But I don't know, I just kind of assumed we were saying, there's a complete assumption that this was from the point of view of the kids. Like it's better for the kids
to
have a middle school.
Yeah, I think it is from the kids'
Is that what it is?
perspective.
Because I don't know how I feel then.
No.
What about you?
Do you know what? I don't know enough about middle schools. I've always thought the idea was cool. I know quite a lot of people who have, from when I did training and kind of kept in touch with them and followed their careers since, who have gone into work in middle schools and have applied kind of their primary teaching and their primary knowledge to the secondary school level. So either they've gone into secondary school and been like year 7, 8 specialist and transition and applying them. Because I feel like the way we teach in primary and the way secondary is taught is a huge jump for a year 7 kid. It's very independent all of a sudden. It's very much like in primary school we're exploring. You know, you stay with your teacher all day, and that's a huge jump and a huge change. And I remember going to year 7 and thinking, Christ, I've got to go to my next lesson, which is over here.
Yeah, it was stressful.
The all intricacies of it. Yeah. It's a huge change. Yep. And a middle school might just be that step where it's like things are getting
just
harder,
something in between,
and we can be in control of like doing that half step. So it's a bit more close to secondary school, because then when you do go to secondary school, do you know what? It's less challenging for you. So I'm not against that.
No, I'm not against it. I definitely explore the idea. I'd like to learn more about it actually, because I feel like I don't know much about that. But it sounds like something that could be quite good.
I've got one here.
Sorry.
Oh, Hayden, go on. You say what what would you rate that?
Do you really care? You want to know, right?
I want to know. I've got a prediction.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
I would never have known. Okay, this one. I don't think this is unpopular. I think this is just a great opinion.
This is a popular, unpopular opinion.
Yeah. Putting kids in isolation for eyelashes or trousers the wrong length by 2 centimeters or anything like that. Laughing emoji face. These are the kids that already find school pointless, and now they miss even more class time by being put into isolation. Oh my goodness me!
What do you think?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Do you know what? This is again more secondary, I think, but you do see a lot kind of eking into primary schools. This is a wider thing for me. I'm going to make this wider immediately.
Do it.
The whole uniform idea, the whole idea of punishing children for uniform, I find insane. I find it crazy. My obsession as a teacher is for children to be in front of me learning. That's my number one priority. And if ever there comes a reason why a child isn't in front of me learning, it's usually pretty much down to the fact they are disrupting other children.
Yeah.
So if the disruption of 30 children obviously outweighs the disruption of one child, if I've got to move a child out of my class as a last resort, I will do so. So you've got to get out of my class. I'm sorry. We're going to crack on with our lesson. You clearly aren't in a space to do that right now.
Yeah.
Whether that's through just pure ignorance from them and they're being naughty and horrible and mean, or if that's for a need that they've got, I can still make that call. You need to go and cool down. You'll be better off out of this room right now. You're not in trouble, but go and do this. Whatever it is, sometimes children are better off outside. If children miss learning time because a teacher has deemed that the tie is too short, I find that absolutely insane. And I hate that that's a thing that's accepted in our society.
What if they don't miss learning time, but there is a punishment for it?
Well, punishment, fine. We can talk about punishments. Maybe, there's some kind of warning system in place. You've got to adhere to a school policy. That's like having high expectations. I don't have a problem with schools having policies and rules that have got to be followed. I don't have a problem with that. What I have a problem with is things like isolation for a skirt being of the wrong length, or for
is isolation. I don't really know what it is. Is that, I know what isolation is, but is that like
it's at the classroom? You're on your own. You're doing your work. So
it is during lesson time.
Yeah, you're doing
not like
somewhere
detention after school.
No. You can be put somewhere else.
Yeah, that is different. I agree.
Yeah,
because if it's like a separate punishment where it's like, okay, you're still getting all your learning opportunities, but you are literally just not.
Yeah, they're literally missing their time in the classroom.
Yeah, for stuff like that, that is stupid, isn't it?
Yeah,
that is really stupid. I'm probably more strict than you. I think uniform's really important, and I actually really do think there should be like things in place for kids just not doing it at all, not missing their learning time. I don't think that's the right thing
in primary and secondary.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow, in primary.
Yeah. I don't think it needs to be. There's some leniency in terms of like there's loads of layers to this, right? If the policy is green jumpers and trousers or whatever, I don't know, and they're like, and the school's like, yeah, you need to have these branded ones. I'm like, get in the bin. That's ridiculous. The cheapest green jumper, I don't care if it's an off green, it doesn't matter as long as they're making some attempt. Because what I really don't like, and I hated this growing up. Maybe this is where it's come from, because I felt the pressure of this all the time, and it made me not even do things and go places. Is I hated the comparisons of what clothes you're wearing.
Sure.
So as soon as there was some flexibility in like what you wear, I didn't want to go into school. I was like, I don't want to go to school now, and I'd feel nervous and anxious because I'd be like, someone's going to take the mick because I've not got the right trainers. Someone's going to say something because they've got this top that I know that the girls are all wearing earrings and they're going to laugh at me because I'm not wearing my earrings. I was trying to think of a funny one, but I don't know. I really, really hated it, and I appreciated uniform growing up because I was like, it allows me to be in a safe space where no one's going to be judged for what they wear. So as soon as kids start pushing those boundaries, I'm sort of like, nah, I don't want to get into that territory.
Sure.
I don't want to be like, no, that's okay. And then they're sat there distracting everyone because I'm like, yeah, look at that, look at my train, look at the trainers I've got a way of wearing, even though I know it's the policy not to. I've done it anyway because they're lenient at this school, so who cares? I warn them.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. I think it's a whole train of thought probably.
Yeah. Well, let's quickly talk about it then. So I'm really interested now, uniform in general. I am not against uniform. I'm against strict, stringent, making a paywall for school.
Yeah. Same,
I'm
same,
really
same.
against that. So I know of schools where they're like,
Yeah.
you need a branded blazer for your 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness me. You're not a private school. This is a state school. You're providing a service. Do not put a paywall up to anyone in your area. I don't care what kind of affluent area you might be in or not.
Yep.
Jeez Louise. Every single uniform policy should allow you to walk into Tesco and get a £2 t-shirt.
100%. Yeah.
So
your kids, I tell you what, your kids not doing. They're not coming in naked. Everyone has to wear clothes.
Exactly.
So I think it's reasonable for a school to dictate what those clothes are.
Sure.
As long as, like you said, it's not ridiculous expectations.
And for exactly the reasons you said, you do not want children feeling awkward, or
Yeah.
it's kind of like an equalizer for all classes, right? And what doing a branded uniform does, it reintroduces that class system.
Yep.
It reintroduces that system where the children who have perfectly fitting uniform with the branded logo on the blazer and the branded logo on the shirt and the branded logo on the tie and the lovely hat with the branded logo on the front, if they're constant, those kids who've constantly got the right, size and always look presentable and neat and tidy, you will immediately spot the kid who's got a blazer which has to fit them for 4 years.
There's a hand-me-down from their older brother. It's got a rip pocket.
Yeah.
And they're
You've created that class system inside a school for what uniform's actually meant to do the complete opposite.
Whereas I tell you what, it's hard to do that when you say, right, kids can wear anything on their bottoms as long as it's this colour, and anything on the top as long as it's this colour. Don't care what it is.
Yeah. And you can actively say, but nothing branded.
Yeah, nothing branded. Just has to be plain.
Yeah.
They're the cheapest clothes anyway, the plain ones, so it has to be plain. So
and do you know what could happen in that point, right?
Yeah.
And I know this happens because it happens in schools I've been in. Some children will have M&S. Some children will have George. Some children will have Primark.
Yep.
You know for a fact they all cost different amounts.
Yep.
But do you know what? The kids don't. They don't know at all.
They don't care.
They're just like, cool, that's why it's even a thing.
I'm rocking up in Gucci. They have no idea. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't know. So I'm quite hot on that. I think uniforms are really important, and I do think it expands to, because then I feel like people have a different opinion then when it comes to like, it's just a hairdo. That I'm like, yeah, but you know what? When they go in with a hairdo that costs £100 and looks really different, it's the same thing. I'm like, I think there should be a line somewhere. It probably was a little bit too strict before, of like, you can't even like shave your head and stupid things like that. I'm like, whatever. But if they're coming in with like I don't know, some like massive pink mohawk, I'm like, it's not generally a normal haircut. Like, let's just stop putting on a pedestal people that can afford to go and do those things. Yeah. They're coming in with these nice earrings. It's like, okay, there are probably other kids in the class that maybe want earrings and their parents said, no, we can't afford it. Like, just make it really just uniformed, literally the word uniform, as much as possible to reduce that social barrier. That's all I think.
Yeah, sure.
But going back to that original point though, punishing kids in school time for it, completely against it.
Yeah. The list of things where a child should not be in the classroom anymore does not include a trouser being the wrong length.
Honestly, punishing kids in general actually is like the last resort. It's like
for clothing.
Did you go and buy that clothing?
Yeah.
Did you take yourself to the hairdresser and get that done? Well, no, obviously you didn't. So I'll talk to your parents.
And
first.
I suppose the difference there is like how you wear your tie is different to not having to be able to afford a branded tie.
Yeah.
So not having a branded tie, it's like, that's clearly not the kid's fault.
Yeah.
Wearing the tie ridiculously to make a point and push boundaries.
Yeah,
that's different.
You're just being naughty for the sake of it. Because it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, let's do one last one. I'm
Honestly,
so sorry.
These guys, like, they're listening to this thinking, I need to know what the rating is.
They only want to know what the rating is. So out of 10, do you have any...
I'm going to think about this one actually. Probably 9. Not quite a 10. 9 out of 10.
No, of course not. Because why would it be anything else? Okay, I keep thinking back to how the 7 times table is English people being ignorant about not knowing languages. It's so funny. Right, we're going to end with this one. Final one. Parents are the problem. Parents need this really is an unpopular opinion here, straight in. Parents are the problem. Parents need to be held accountable for their children. And I've chosen this, it links to what you just said basically, but this is wider. Held accountable for their children's behaviour and their own as parents in schools. Held accountable for their child's progress and held accountable for their child's attendance. And until parents are, and they feel the consequences and the ramifications for their children, nothing in education is going to change. Schools and education cannot improve until this does first.
Well, that's quite strong. I think there are lots of bits in there I agree with. I probably would take out parents are the problem from the start if I was like presenting this, because I feel like that's just going to trigger people to get that.
I asked for unpopular opinion, so this person probably framed it in that way.
It's a really cool way of doing it, because like I get it.
Because we're parents now, so let's take it out. We'll take it out. Yeah.
I don't think parents are the problem.
Sure.
I think they are. I think parents in general, culture. I think English culture, which just happens to encompass parents, obviously going to school, I think is part of the problem.
Sure.
I think culture is changing. I think expectations are changing of parents. I think expectations from parents on teachers is changing. I think respect towards teachers is changing. I think all of those things are part of the problem because from my experience, there's definitely been countless times where I've sort of walked away from conversation thinking there is nothing here that could resolve this thing other than the parent just doing something different. It's hard to say, like, I don't want to go into actual examples.
No, but I know exactly what you mean.
Where I'm thinking in that moment, okay, the problem is the parenting right now.
Yeah.
That's the reason I can't get X done, or there's a problem in the classroom. It's because of something that's happening and that the parent doesn't want to address. I can't do anything about it. So that does happen.
Yeah.
But I think saying a blanket thing like parents are the problem is quite harsh because there are, like I'd say, still the vast majority of parents I've dealt with, and there's thousands over the years, are extremely good at parenting and are doing everything they possibly can to do the right thing for their kids. I just think there's a minority that take the mick race, basically.
Sure. So the three main things you talked about, maybe we could just dive into those. Held accountable for their children's behaviour, progress, and attendance.
Yeah.
So maybe we could just go into those three quickly and just think, okay, how much of a role does the parent have here in terms of this opinion that the parents are the problem? So in terms of progress, I think way too much impetus is put on the impact of the teacher on a child's progress. I think we have much less of a difference making ability than we would like to think as teachers. I think it's nice to think we've had a huge impact. I think even the best of teachers don't double a kid's, they
might make a 5% difference.
Whereas a lot of stuff you can do at home, like reading regularly when you're younger, being exposed to stuff, those early years, that formative phase when parents are just constantly with their children, I actually do agree that has much bigger impact on a child's attainment and is therefore much more down to what the parent can give to the child in those years.
I think I don't want to. It's a weird conversation because you can almost sound like a snob by sort of agreeing with some of these things, but there is plenty of evidence out there that you can check out that literally shows the strong correlation between the way a child is parented and their academic performance. And it's not guaranteed. There's always outliers.
And I think that's the important. People might listen and be like, well, my child's this and I did everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Of course. We're not saying individual.
There's a million different reasons that it might not fit that correlation. But there is a correlation.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying that the kind of spread of the blame, let's say, is much more heavily loaded onto the teacher's shoulders for attainment, where actually I do agree that load, sure, the teacher has an impact.
Should be split.
But it should be split a little bit more than it currently is.
Yeah, and again, I think everything comes down to culture. It's just culture of parenting. It's like, okay, do you talk positively about school with your kids at home? Yes or no? That's going to have an impact. Do you actively get them to read? Yes or no? That's going to have an impact. Do you help them with their homework or not? That's going to have an impact. There's loads of little things where it's like, it's all just cultural. Yeah. If you add them all together, you will find the correlation between parents that do none of those things ever for 16 years and parents that do all of those things all the time for 16 years. There is some correlation there between how much impact it makes on their progress. So yeah, I do think there is some accountability to be had.
What about behaviour?
From parents. Yeah, same with behaviour. I think it's probably the same to me. I reckon people would naturally think behaviour is more on parents, but I think it's about the same. I just think people undervalue the parents' importance on like progress and attainment at school. Yeah,
and we talk about really high expectations and routines and having standards that we don't budge from and how hard that is to do. It's also hard to do as a parent. And it is quite easy. I know a lot of children. How many times as a teacher, if you're listening to this right now, have you sat at parents' evening and a parent has gone, "Oh, they're not like that at home." Yeah, like the children are putting on a performance for you sometimes at school.
Yeah.
And my point here is those parents are doing a hard job. Yeah, because they're dealing with the output.
Do you know what I always want to say?
And they're teaching children to do well at school.
Sorry.
Go on.
I always want to say to that. Obviously, I never would. It's like, you should meet me at home. It's like, we're all different. Like the school is a place of work for them as well. It is the same thing. That it might not be a paid job, but it is the same concept in your head. They are coming to school. They're not at home in their in the home environment. They are at school, and just like I am, I don't behave like I behave at home at school.
You behave terribly at home.
Yeah, I'm way better. I'm way nicer at school.
But it's true, and I think that's what I'm saying. Where it's like down to the parents. I don't think what I'm saying is parents, you should be judged as harshly as we are in school with behaviour. No. I think teachers should be judged more on how behaviour is controlled in school. I think part of it might be to do with the parents, but comparing it to like progress and things like that, I don't think this is a holistic thing. I think we can separate these two things out. Whereas with progress, it was we all need to be working on the same hymn sheet for good progress. For behaviour, I think children can behave very differently in and out of school and it'd be fine and it'd be acceptable. And I still think you can teach your kids, there are certain situations, kids, where you do not shout out, you do not talk over people, you show respect. When you're at home, you can chill out and play Fortnite and put off something. You know, you can still treat your adults with respect and you can still do things like that. But I think there's less burden there in school, I think teachers have more control on behaviour. Than
Yeah,
we do
it's actually a really good
progress.
point, because also it's like some of the rules that you have in school of like, talking nicely to your partners and stuff. It's like, well, when you go home, the other kids aren't actually there, are they? So some of those rules don't even exist.
Yeah, sit nicely
So
in your chair.
Yeah.
So do you sit like that at home?
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't.
I've got a beanbag.
Yeah, of course I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, so we invent these rules and strict regimes in school that clearly don't have to be upheld at home to that degree.
Yeah.
So I think it's slightly different now.
Is it important that parents are held accountable? Yeah, I think so. I think basically the crux of this goes down to, I think both schools and parents are accountable overall together. What the split is exactly, I don't know, but it is definitely both. And I think the problem this person probably has is, and I do agree with this, is it has shifted. Over time, it has shifted. Let's say it was 50-50. Everyone agreed it's half the schools, half the parents' job, and collectively we do it. It does seem to feel like now it's like 99% the school. Every fault is because of the school.
Yeah.
1% of the time it's to the parents. And it does feel like that's the way. I'm sure lots of parents wouldn't say that, but it feels like that.
And
when you read the Daily Mail,
yeah,
it feels
exactly
like
that. And I would say from my point of view, I always say this, 95 to 98% of the parents I work with are bloody lovely. Couldn't do more for their kid.
Yep.
Right on board, always supportive. I think it's a bit of it's easy to focus on the couple who cause you a problem and then extrapolate it.
Yeah.
I think we need to work hard as teachers to not do that. I think a lot of parents do really well, the best they can, because they're not educators at the end of the day. When we say to do loads of stuff at home, you're not an educator though.
No.
And we're going to do an episode in the future about homeschooling.
We are a public service for you.
Exactly. And that is, at the end of the day, there is some things we have to swallow.
Yeah.
But when you look at like the memes and stuff, like the cartoon I saw recently, which was, 1980 to 2024, and it was like in 1980 it was parents' evening, and the parents turning to the child saying, "Why are you not behaving?"
Yeah.
And in 2024, it's the parent turning to the teacher going, "Why is my child not behaving?" And it's like that. That I do think that paradigm is shifted. I don't necessarily think it's as incredibly over the top as is sometimes portrayed.
Yeah, and everyone in life likes to blame the other party. As simple as that. You just do, don't you? If you're a teacher, you're going to want to be a bit more like, oh, it's the parents, it's not my fault, it's the parents' fault. And if you're a parent, you're going to be like, well, it was the teachers, they didn't teach them this thing.
How often, as a primary school teacher, have you gone, God, what do they do in nursery? Or, infant school.
They came up terribly. And it's funny that, isn't it? Every year comes up worse.
It's weird because secondary school teachers also seem to think you did nothing in primary school, and you're the person in primary school. And then it's like, no, we did loads. They just forgot it. What those kids like.
I'm sat in year 6, knowing that loads of my kids will go to year 7. In year 7, teachers will be like, oh,
what have they done all year?
What have they done? And I'm thinking, I've done so much stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the natural thought and reaction isn't always necessarily the one that's actually true. And I think that's a little bit of the case there. But I do think it's shifted.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Hayden, I'm going to ask you something now. I've not asked you all podcast.
8.
What would you rate that be?
That ruined it, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Probably, I think that's a good one. That's 9 out of 10.
Is it 9?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Average for all of them.
Wait, let's work this out.
How many did they do? That's 6. So we've got to add them all up, haven't we? So it's 9 add 9 add 9 add 9 add 9 add 9.
This is good about math efficiency.
Divide that by 6.
Yeah. I don't know. 54, wait a minute. I don't know how to times by 6 and divide by 6 quickly. If it was 7, I'd know.
We'd be all right.
We'd be all right. We'd be fine.
Well, we wouldn't, would we?
Oh, guys, thank you so much for listening. I'm really, really interested to know what you think about any of those opinions. That was genuinely blind. That was our first. We might listen to this and be like, Christ, did I say that? I don't think we will, though. They were really good, a really good chat.
Yeah, I like doing that. We should do more of those, I think.
Yeah, harvest opinions.
Think on the spot, yeah.
Yeah.
It also meant I got to talk more.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
No.
I don't like one bit. Yeah. Any new listeners, this is not normal.
Normally, Dylan's interrupting me every 2 minutes.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh.
I don't know what you mean. But you'd be pleased to know one of those opinions was from your best friend. We're going to leave that there.
Oh.
So.
I'll try and work it out.
Yeah, I know. For anyone who doesn't know, Hayden does have a best friend.
Yeah.
You might work it out over the next few weeks.
She's been a guest on our podcast twice. I'll leave it at that.
That's massively narrowed it down.
Has it?
You've narrowed it down from 4 billion women in the world to one woman who's been on the podcast twice.
She's about BFF, all right?
Sophie, we love you.
Oh, you've given it away.
I've given it away. Right, anyway, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
We'll sign off. Have an amazing first week back at school if it's your first week back. If it's your third week back, hope you're surviving.
Hope it's all also amazing. Get in touch with us. See you guys.
Rate us.
And that.
Yeah.